Coming up, the Chiefs make a statement to kick off week 2 of the season, and the Bengals look to bounce back against Dallas. This is Locked On Game to Game NFL.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Game to Game NFL. Local experts weighing in on the biggest stories in the National Football League. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. We are ready to preview all of those week 2 matchups of NFL action for you. And things kicked off on Thursday night with a good one. Two of the best teams in the league's best division, the Chiefs and the Chargers, facing off. The Chiefs proving that the AFC West still runs through Kansas City. Locked On Chargers and Locked On Chiefs break down the Thursday night game.
The Kansas City Chiefs take on their biggest rival and come out on top in an early season contest in the AFC West. They have beaten the Los Angeles Chargers to take command of the AFC West here on Week 2 Thursday Night Football. I'm Ryan Tracy from Locked On Chiefs, and we have a great show for you that's going to give you all the information about this contest and where the Chiefs are, which is a little bit impressive at this point, with a lot of contributors that are either rookies or in their second year, including the big play of the night from rookie Jalen Watson, a 7th-round pick the Chiefs brought in to man the corner with Trent McDuffie on the bench, another rookie. That goes a long way in setting them up to be in command of this division. Los Angeles Chargers put up a great fight, a gutsy performance from Justin Herbert. But in the end, the Kansas City Chiefs at home were able to say, we know you're gunning for us and we can handle it. Check us out on Locked On Chiefs this week. Your team every day.
The Chargers had the Chiefs on the ropes, but missed opportunities let the game slip away. This is Daniel Wade from Locked On Chargers coming to you after the Chargers' brutal 27-24 defeat to the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football, and the missed opportunities came back to haunt the Chargers as they dropped or had called back 4 interceptions in this one that led to 17 points for the Kansas City Chiefs. Both of Patrick Mahomes' touchdown passes came after either a dropped interception or an interception called back by a penalty. And for the Chargers, the biggest missed opportunity might have come in the red zone, where on the 4-yard line, Justin Herbert threw his first interception of the season, and it was returned for a touchdown, 99 yards, really swinging the game late. But the biggest concern for the Chargers is Justin Herbert's health, as he got banged up late in this game and was noticeably wincing and holding his rib cage as this game ended. He probably should have come out, but he ended up leading a touchdown drive that brought the Chargers within an onside kick of getting into the game late. But for all of the latest and how the Chargers get back on track, make sure you're following the Locked On Chargers podcast, your team every day.
The Buffalo Bills are going to bring that momentum from week 1 back to Buffalo for a second straight primetime game, this time against the Titans. Meanwhile, Tennessee hopes it can prove it still has some of that magic from last season after losing in week 1. Locked On Bills and Titans preview the matchup.
What do the Buffalo Bills have to do to win on Monday? The Buffalo Bills must get pressure on quarterback Ryan Tannehill in order to beat the Tennessee Titans on Monday night. I'm Joe Marino, host of the Locked On Bills podcast. With the addition of Von Miller, the Buffalo Bills defense made a statement in week 1, sacking Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford 7 times after he was sacked just 30 times all of last season. And the Bills did so without blitzing, allowing Buffalo to consistently drop 7 defenders into coverage. A similar recipe is needed against the Tennessee Titans, who feature a left guard in Aaron Brewer making his 8th career start, and rookie right tackle Nicholas Petit-Frere making just his 2nd career start. The Bills have the defensive line talent needed to win matchups up front and apply consistent heat on Tannehill while forcing him to connect with a group of young receivers in Kyle Phillips and Treylon Burks, who are both rookies, and a veteran in Robert Woods, who is coming off a knee injury and in only his 2nd game playing with Tannehill. If the Bills do that, they will make life very difficult for Tannehill and company on Monday night. For more on your Buffalo Bills and Monday night's big matchup, be sure to check out the Locked On Bills podcast every Monday through Friday, free and available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
If the Tennessee Titans want to beat the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football, they must get back to their identity. My name's Tyler Rowland, host of the Locked On Titans podcast. The Tennessee Titans have a tough challenge ahead of them with the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. If the Titans want to rebound from an embarrassing loss to the New York Giants in Week 1, they must do it on the back of Derrick Henry. The offense must be centered around the king. Derrick Henry must get back to form, look like his old self, not only to allow the Titans offense to have more success, but to keep the high-powered Buffalo Bills offense off the field. It sounds cliche, but if the Titans want to win on Monday Night Football, they got to play old school Tennessee Titans football. For more analysis, make sure you check out the Locked On Titans podcast, free and available on all platforms, Monday through Friday, your team every day.
Coming up, we'll have more previews of the Week 2 action in the NFL. This is Locked On Game to Game NFL. This edition of Locked On Game to Game NFL is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want, from a community of local hosts across the US, Canada, and in the UK. Ditch boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com. Both the Dolphins and the Ravens have quarterbacks that have something to prove this season. Tua Tagovailoa needs to show Miami that he can lead this Dolphins team to success. While Lamar Jackson, on the other hand, he still needs a new contract and he wants that guaranteed money. So after both teams win in Week 1, they will face off in Week 2. Both Locked On Dolphins and Locked On Ravens look at what it's going to take to get another win.
The Miami Dolphins must continue their improvement up front in the trenches offensively in order to log their second win of the season against the Baltimore Ravens. I'm Kyle Krabs of Locked On Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins showed some flashes of improvement offensively under head coach Mike McDaniel on Sunday against the New England Patriots, and that trend must continue for quarterback Tua Tagovailoa to continue to play within the structure of the offense if the team is going to log its second win of the year against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, offensive tackle Teron Armstead and offensive tackle Austin Jackson currently have their status in the air in this game after suffering injuries of varying degrees against the New England Patriots. But the Dolphins still experienced a much better effort up front, even with the absence of Jackson for almost the entire game and Armstead for just a handful of plays. They'll need that to continue in order to make sure they find the explosive plays that they need in order to win on Sunday against Baltimore.
The Baltimore Ravens must establish their ground game against the Miami Dolphins in their Week 2 matchup. This is Kevin Ostreicher, the host of Locked On Ravens. And Baltimore, against the New York Jets in Week 1, only averaged 3 yards per carry on the ground. And in Week 2 against Miami, that is not going to fly. They're going to have to be able to establish their ground game using guys like Kenyon Drake and Mike Davis and Justice Hill, and hopefully a return for running back J.K. Dobbins, who will be playing in his first competitive NFL action since the 2021 playoff loss to the Buffalo Bills. That doesn't mean their pass game can't do anything. They do have Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, obviously tight end Mark Andrews as well, also being able to put themselves in a second and manageable, third manageable situations and using their play action game and also the short passing game. If Baltimore's getting blitzed by Miami, a counter to that would be successful screens using the short passes. So that'll be really important for them. On the defensive side of the ball, third down defense going to be really important for the Ravens getting off the field on third down, especially with the team that boasts Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Also confusing the Dolphins at the line, whether it is putting everybody up there and either sending the house or pulling all but 3 or 4 back. Baltimore, the interior pressure will also be a big factor in being able to rattle that Dolphins offense. For more on this Ravens and Dolphins matchup, be sure to follow the Locked On Ravens podcast.
The Raiders and Cardinals made the playoffs last season, but they both started off Week 1 with a loss. Only 12% of 0-2 teams make the postseason, so Locked On Raiders and Locked On Cardinals have more on what it's going to take to get their team back on track.
Protecting Derek Carr and protecting the ball is the two biggest keys that the Raiders must focus in on this week as they prepare to play the Arizona Cardinals at Allegiant Stadium. I'm your boy Q, host of the Locked On Raiders podcast, and after the Raiders lost to the Chargers on the first game of the 2022 season, 24-19, it was a case of turnovers and sacks. Simple as that. Derek Carr was sacked 5 times by the Chargers, and the defense for the Chargers came up with 3 turnovers as Derek Carr threw 3 interceptions. So that cannot happen on Sunday versus the Cardinals if the Raiders want to leave Allegiant Stadium with a victory and improve to 1-1 on the season. The guys in front of the offensive line have to do the best job to keep Derek Carr upright. There's a lot of weapons on the field. Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow. They will be no good if they can't protect Derek Carr. Also, Derek Carr's got to do some protection of his own, protecting the ball. Through 3 interceptions, that's very un-Carr-like. He's got to get back to playing Derek Carr-style ball. Don't get hyped up by all the weapons that he has around him and showing everyone that he can sling it around the yard and pull up a bunch of points and a bunch of yards and throw for this, that, and the other. Got to come up with
The Texans surprised some people in week 1, while the Broncos probably underwhelmed some people. Locked On Texans breaks down what Houston's going to need to do to beat Russell Wilson and the Broncos at Mile High.
In order for the Houston Texans to beat the Denver Broncos, they can't beat themselves. I'm John Hickman with the Locked On Texans podcast covering your Houston Texans. Dameon Pierce has to get more carries. You're going to win with Dameon Pierce or you're going to die trying. He has to play more than 20 snaps on Sunday. Davis Mills has to be better in getting other playmakers involved on this offense. Brandon Cooks and Rex Burkhead cannot receive the large share of your targets. Defensively, they have to play to their assignment and create pressure, but they have to create it up the middle, knock Russell Wilson off his game, get him uncomfortable as possible. But again, play your assignments. But overall, they have to play aggressive and continue playing aggressive through all 4 quarters. Make sure you follow the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube under the name Locked On Texans and follow us on Twitter for more Texan updates.
That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game NFL. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Make sure you go check out your team's Locked On podcast and also subscribe to Locked On NFL on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.